Eat all of them. Oh,
Mm.
Morning, everybody. You can unmute if you want to.
Morning.
Good morning.
How was your Labor Day? Cam looks like she's still in bed. How you guys doing? All right? You have a good weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This week. So yesterday I made the mistake. I asked one of my second-year students what they did all weekend. And he said I was drunk with all my friends all weekend. That's Zoom etiquette or not, but I mean, that was a little too much information for me. He said, oh, but I'm recovering now. I did sleep a little bit yesterday, so. I was like, okay. What'd you all do over the weekend? Anybody do anything special? No traveling? You guys working?
Yeah, I work.
Yeah, I work too.
Where y'all work?
I work at Marshall's.
Work at Marshall's. Was it busy?
Actually, it wasn't that busy because I was working towards like the night shift.
Oh, okay.
So,
You know, I don't know about you guys. Like for me, I will not purposely go shopping anywhere on Labor Day. I mean, it's Labor Day. Isn't that like supposed to be the day when people who work actually take the day off? I don't know. I'm a little confused. Hopefully you get paid more for working on Labor Day than you do for any other regular day.
Yeah.
At least you got paid more. They pay you a higher rate.
I'm not sure. No one mentioned that they were gonna pay me more.
Uh-oh. Even worse. Even worse.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Nobody went to the beach, huh? No beach, no nothing. Man, you guys are, well, with, I guess, COVID, everybody's, y'all afraid to go to the beach and stuff? Are you afraid?
I don't like.
You don't like the beach? No. I don't really go to Delaware beaches. I grew up going to the Jersey Shore because I'm a Philadelphia guy originally. But yeah, I guess COVID kind of messes everything up quite a bit, doesn't it? So so good morning. We're going to cover some material today for our first 2 weeks. So really chapters 1 and 2 today. So I want you to kind of really focus in on, you know, what we're talking about. We're going to try to use chat a little bit today. And hopefully if I can get it to work correctly, I'm going to get a video to run as well today. I would ask that if you all can hear me, I've got an awful lot of black screens with names on them. I would really prefer, if it's possible, for you to put your video on so your classmates can actually see you guys. So again, if it's not appropriate, I understand that, but for the most part, I mean, the only way we're ever going to get to know one another is if we can actually see your faces. Actually, you're all really good looking too. So it's nice to see all of you guys and know that there actually is a person on the other end of the screen. you know, when we have when I go to really, really large meetings, sometimes I will actually turn my screen off just because I can find it distracting. But I think for a class, I think it's probably more appropriate to try to put your face on the screen if you can. We don't really care how you're dressed or how your hair looks. That's not really important. So be comfortable and casual. But if we can see you, that would be a great thing. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys for a sec. So let me move you. I'm going to move you to my other screen here. And I'm going to share screen so we can look at what's to come, because I've got some things coming up that I want you guys to be able to be up to speed on. So y'all can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, cool. Okay, so here's the Zoom meeting. And again, this Zoom meeting, guys, is going to be every week for a while. And this number and the passcode is going to stay the same. Okay, so I won't have to keep sending out a new one to you guys. This is going to be one that we'll be using. I think Zoom allows us to do like 7 weeks. So I'll let you know when that changes. But for right now, we're going to leave that stay on your announcements so that you know how to log into that right from the very beginning. So we're going to go to content again. Did everybody get a chance to spend a little bit of time on the course page? Yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that's really important that you get on the course page, because you guys have to know how to navigate around the course page. Again, if you have any questions or you read something that didn't make quite sense to you, you know, just email me. I'd be glad to answer those for you. So if we go into our weekly modules, here we are. We're really actually technically in module 2, although 1, 2, and 3 kind of meld together, and you'll see why I say that today. But if we get into module number 2, now we're going to start seeing that there's actually an assignment. Oh, look at that. I misspelled the word assignment. How embarrassing. I got to fix that. Hang on. We're going to edit that. Do you guys even pick up on that? You should do that. Look at that. I put an E in there. How'd that get in there? All right. There we go. See, I'm very quick to admit when I make a mistake. So there they are. So we have modules, and we do have an assignment coming up. So we have homework 1, which you're going to be working on this week and next week. It's going to be due a week from this Sunday. So if you look on module 3, you actually have the date now, Sunday, September 20th at midnight. That is when that's due. I conveniently put in links for you, so you can go to the link for homework 1, and then there's also a link to the submission folder, so you can submit your assignment once you've completed it. You're going to type it out onto a Word document, okay? So I'll show you where to find that on the regular content as well, though. So if you go down here to assignments, click that on, and there's homework 1. So homework 1 is right there. So what we're doing in homework 1 is we're doing an ethics activity for you. So, you know, we hear a lot about ethics, and we hear a lot, but we don't always see a lot of ethics, especially with a presidential election coming up. We're not seeing a lot of ethical behavior. And so that kind of behavior spills over into the workplace as well. So I'm giving you some ethics activities. You actually get to choose one of the scenarios that you want to read. These scenarios are actually based on true stories. So the workplace can be a really weird place. It can be a very unethical place. And you're going to answer some questions right here. You're going to answer these questions on a document, okay? And when you're finished those, and again, it's due a week from Sunday, we have under assignment submissions, you'll only see homework 1. So you'll only see that. And when you click on go to assignment, there'll be a place where you can just dump your document. So you can just take the document and just slide it right in and just submit it that way, okay? So that, again, is open and ready for you to begin working on. So that's your first assignment for the course, okay? Do you have any questions about that at all?
I don't have a question about that.
Go for it.
I was just wondering, because we had Labor Day on Monday, I missed another class that I only have at the same time as this one at 9:30. So I was just I forgot the email, but I was just gonna let you know. I'll just be like popping out and then checking in to see with that class if it's
So
not.
you have another class that's running at the same time?
Yeah, on Wednesdays, and it's usually not a problem because I have it on Monday.
Okay, I will tell you that the instructor of that course should change that Zoom session because you are only supposed to have sessions during when the class is supposed to be operating. So that's
Yeah.
why I do it on Monday and Wednesday. So was that class scheduled at the same time as mine?
Yeah, well, so this is meets only on Wednesdays, yeah. Like,
Okay.
and then his meets. I have a communication, so it's a communications class that meets on Monday and Wednesday at the same time. And normally it's fine. We like later in the semester we don't actually meet on the second days, but I just
Sure.
wanted to in this
Okay.
week.
Well, I appreciate you telling me that. And what we're going to do is, and you'll see, you guys have seen already, I did already post the last meeting that we had. I don't want you guys to get used to that and say, well, you know what, I'm just going to watch the recording because you don't do interaction and there are some things I will not post. Okay. So being in attendance is going to be very important. Actually, when you guys are logging on, I'm actually taking attendance. So that is going to be a factor in your final grade. So that's important. But I will be posting the recordings of a lot of our sessions, so you will be able to revert back. So if you miss some, Cody, it's okay. You can go back and you'll be able to see what maybe you've missed during the lecture.
Okay. Yeah, and this shouldn't be like next week. Should be fine because we won't have Labor Day.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, Labor Day. It's kind of weird to start classes and then we start Labor Day. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, that really messed me up.
Yeah. So let me see if I can get this video to run for you guys. And I want you to pay particular attention to this video because actually this video is going to show up on your first exam. So some of the discussion that we have regarding this video called Kane's Arcade, you might be helpful for you on one of your questions on your exam. So let me see if I can get this thing running and I get the sound. I'm going to leave it in a small screen. Is that okay for everybody?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that okay? All right. So, and then just holler if you can't hear it. Sometimes the sound isn't always good. I can just turn my sound up. You can hear it a little bit better.
Name's Kane. I'm 9 years old. My arcade is called Kane's Arcade. It's open on weekends only. And it's really cheap.
Kane does not pass by an arcade without stopping in. He loves tickets, playing games. He loves prizes. So it was only natural for him to build his own arcade. He loves to see how things are built. He takes all his toys apart to see how they work. Can't put them back together, but he takes them apart. Kane spent summer vacation coming to work with me. We sell auto parts in East LA.
My dad has a lot of boxes back there. He ships parts out, so I cut them up and make my arcade games out of it. My first game I made, the basketball hoop I got at Shaky's Pizza, and it's really cool.
He taped it onto a box, and he was offering people chances to play for like a nickel. He started from that little game, and little by little, they started getting fancier and fancier, and eventually he took over the whole store.
I met Kane randomly. I had to get a door handle for my 96 Corolla, so I pulled into this used auto parts store, and I just came across this elaborate cardboard arcade. I asked him how much it was to play. He's like, for $1 you get 4 turns, but for $2 you get a fun pass. How many turns do you get a fun pass? You get 500 turns for a fun pass. I got a fun pass.
I made this fun pass that expires in 1 month, and you get 500 plays of any of these games. It was a great deal. And I started making my office. I have like a speaker on the other side to talk through. I got tokens, my business cards, fun passes, and prizes. First prizes, I used my own toys, like the cars with my own toys. I used to like Hot Wheels when I was little.
I worked from the back office, and it kept him out of my hair all summer. He would work on the arcade, I'd work on eBay.
My next game I built was a soccer game. First of all, it didn't have no goalies. People said it was too easy, So about army goalies, then my blockers. I thought, is it easy now? It's pretty hard. So you get 2 tickets to make it in here. I'll give it a 4-star. Hard game, challenging game. 4-star.
One day, King tells me, Dad, I want to buy a claw machine. I said, why don't you just build it? So you got an S hook, put a piece of yarn on it, and then put a little track on top of the box. And I said, what the heck? He figured out how to make a claw machine with a string and a hook.
And here's some sunglasses. These are the glasses I like the most. Star sunglasses.
He finds calculators to put on every arcade game. And I go, what's that for?
The calculator's right here for security to see if it's a real fun pass or not. On the back, the fun pass has security number. So when you go here, you turn it on, you put the pin number in it, and you push a check mark button, and the big number comes out. And that's how you know it's a real fun pass.
My dad started the business in 1955. We have used auto parts. Most of our business has gone online because we really don't get to walk up traffic like we used to. So Kane's chance of getting one customer is pretty hard. Kane's always waiting in front, sitting on his little chair, and trying to convince people to play. But not too much luck.
He's arcade grand opening.
But he never gets discouraged. He's always sweeping up and dusting off the games, waiting for customers. He only wears his shirt on Saturdays and Sundays when he comes to open up his arcade. And he's really proud of his shirt because he thought it up and he designed it. When Kane got back to school from vacation, he started telling everybody he had an arcade. And nobody believed him. So he won't wear his shirt to school because he's afraid that kids might tease him about it. You know, he told them, hey, I got my own arcade. And they go, yeah, sure. Well, one day, my secretary comes running into the office. George, you never believe it. Somebody's playing Kane's Arcade. And I go, no way. So I was looking through the security camera, watching him.
I'm playing like miniature soccer, miniature basketball. And then when he scored a point, he would crawl into the box and he pulls out these little tickets out of the side of the cardboard.
Like real arcade game, tickets come from the bottom.
And I was like, this kid's a genius.
Devon came back one day when Kane wasn't here, and he told me, do you mind if I make a short film about Kane's Arcade? I said, well, actually, it's kind of like a little joke around here because you're his only customer.
I was blown away. Kane's only sold one Fun Pass. Like, the Fun Pass is an awesome deal.
So Devon said, well, what if I can get him a couple customers? And I said, that would make his day. If you can get him one customer, he'll be happy.
And at that point, we hatched a plan to invite everybody in LA to come play Kane's Arcade. The idea was to do a surprise flash mob at Kane's Arcade on Sunday afternoon.
And I'm thinking, who's going to come down to the junkyard Sunday afternoon, East LA? Who's really going to show up?
Then I made a little Facebook event, which a friend posted on Hidden LA, which has over 230,000 fans. And all of a sudden, it just started going viral.
And their mom put it over the internet. And all of a sudden, within an hour, we had NBC News here.
Then it hit the front page of Reddit, which is like being on the front page of the internet.
I started reading the comments. I wish I could be there. I live in New York. I wish I could be there. I live in Europe. And I'm like, wow, it was getting big. The plan is, I'm going to take Kane to Shakey's Pizza. We're going to play some arcade games. We're going to eat lunch while Nirvana sets up a big surprise party. Kane has no idea what we're doing. And when we get back, we have the biggest surprise of his life.
And the idea is just to get as many people as we can to come out to Kane's Arcade and just make his day.
Kane's dying to have one customer show up to his arcade. So Kane is to be the most surprised little boy in the whole wide world. Okay, he's ready. In about a minute, he's gonna arrive here. Hey Kane, can we go get no customers?
No.
No. Come on. Dad's tired.
No can do.
No can do. We're back, Karen. Wow. What's going on over here? Huh? We finally got some customers here.
Kane, this is everybody. All these people came here to play your arcade. Did you know they were coming?
No.
Are you ready to run your arcade? All right, what you guys come here to do? Go ahead, welcome to Kane's Arcade, man.
But the A could also be for auto parts, because it's pop shops where it's made. And the I's gotta be for imagination, which kids got a lot. And the N ought to be for noggin, where the idea first got thought. But then the E, oh yes the E, oh yes the E, oh yes the E. Well, the E's gotta be for everybody. Cause everybody's invited, come on down and play. If you got the pluck to try your luck, come on down to Kane's Arcade. Oh, Kane's Arcade. Kane's Arcade. Oh, Kane's Arcade. Kane's Arcade. It's the best cardboard arcade ever been made. Ever made. Grab yourself a fun pass and y'all come on down and play. If you got the pluck to try your luck, get on down to Kane's Arcade.
So what do you think?
Sweet kid.
Isn't that a cool story? Right? Do you remember like when you guys used to play like that? Yeah, I do. I think my neighbors growing up in my neighborhood thought I was the most craziest kid because I could play a whole football game against myself. And I don't know how I did it. My imagination would run wild. What are some of the things about the entrepreneurial mindset? You know, chapter 1 talks about how entrepreneurs think, and we're going to look at the PowerPoints a little bit with that. But what does Kane possess as far as that mindset? What is it about the way he thinks that would make him very entrepreneurial? And you guys can use the chat, or you can just unmute and say it.
His determination to not.
So what made you think that he had a determination?
When he would just consistently sit out front, like knowing that no one was really coming, but just waiting for that one customer.
Yeah, that's great insight, because when you think about like when he was coming back when his dad had him all set up, and his dad tried to tease him by saying, well, why don't we just take the day off? What was Kane's response?
He wanted to keep it open. No can do.
No can do. Never know. I might have a customer today, right? What other attributes did Kane have?
He came up with the all-day pass, and he's trying to get the sale any way he can.
How did he do the fun pass? How did he check the security for the fun pass?
Here's a calculator.
Yeah, he was actually doing the square root of a secret number, but he said that he just called that his check mark. He just tipped the check mark, right? Again, using the imagination, right? So as we get older, and look, I'm way ahead of that curve than you guys are, but even for you guys, as you get older, what is it that changes? Why do we stop being that way? Because we all have imaginations when we're kids. Why do we stop having an imagination? Like, what is it that kind of makes us less imaginative?
It's not realistic to the real world.
It's not realistic. In what way, Sophia?
like in the real world, you obviously know that like that kind of arcade wouldn't like feed your family or something. So you have to go out and actually get like an actual job somewhere. So that imagination kind of dies because you have to have responsibilities.
And how do other people influence that thinking as well? That's not
A lot.
how do they?
'Cause I feel like a lot of people think that like everybody needs an everyday 9 to 5 job, and you can't really go out and then venture and just do you and like be your own owner.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like a lot of people are busy telling us what we can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset is always thinking about and looking for opportunities. And we're thinking about how we can solve problems or meet needs in a creative way. I watched some of these, I shared with you guys last week, I have a daughter that lives in Alaska, and she's not remote. She lives right near Anchorage, so she lives in a normal house. But there's a lot of TV shows that I see on that are related to people living in Alaska and trying to make, homesteading and things like that. And they are very creative because they have a limited amount of resources, and they try to use those resources in order to solve a problem that they have. And there's something about that for me as an entrepreneur, that I really like that. Not that I want to go live remotely. I would never survive. I'm too much of a city boy. But I always like to create and build things, out of nothing. Take something and building out of nothing. And that's really that entrepreneurial mindset. Let me go back to shared screen. So I'm going to pull up the PowerPoints for that, and let's take a look at them, okay? And we're going to go through chapter 1 just a little bit here. So give me just a second to pull that up. Again, you'll find that right here under assignments, so it's there for you as well. So, and I'm going to leave it in this mode. So in chapter 1, this is really what we're talking about. So let me just kind of go through these slides, and I'm going to just chime in when you have a question about this. Again, you have access to this, so you'll be able to see these slides. You can pull them up at any point. So when we look at opportunities in entrepreneurship, we're really looking for, the book talks about 3 different types of opportunities. The first one is a new market. That's a completely different market. I know I'm old enough now. I remember when smartphones first came out, and it kind of, be honest with you, the original smartphones were not really that smart, but the things that they could do for you was creating a whole new market. I know how many of you guys, do you guys still collect record albums? Does anybody collect record albums, like LP records? Because I know some of that's gotten back into vogue. Like some people like the classic albums. I mean, I had a huge album collection. I mean, all the classics, the Beatles and the Stones and all that stuff. And I got rid of them all because we got CDs. So I don't need records anymore. So that became a whole new market, right? Sometimes we produce a new product in an existing market, or sometimes we have a new product for even a brand new market as well. So we talk about, and the book talks about the McMullen-Shepard model, and you'll read that in chapter 1. So you guys should be reading through chapter 2 by this week. So, and it talks about really there's 2 stages of that entrepreneurial action. The first one is, realizing that the opportunity exists for somebody. So you see a need, it's usually related to problems that we face every day. So we look and we see that there's an opportunity, and then we evaluate, is that opportunity something that maybe we are interested in taking on, or that we have the capacity to take on? So identifying a problem is one step, but then identifying the problem and then thinking that we might be somebody that could solve that problem is the next phase of that. So how do entrepreneurs think? Entrepreneurs sometimes make decisions in highly uncertain environments with high stakes and immense time pressures. Here's one thing I want you to get from this chapter, a couple of things I want you to get from this chapter. Number one is that although entrepreneurs do take risk, what we try to do as entrepreneurs is reduce or eliminate as much risk as we can. So we are going to do a lot of research and a lot of work ahead of time to try to almost make a sure thing. So if you ever go to a casino, I don't know how many of you guys have ever been to casinos, but any of you guys that are gamblers, what gambling game has the best odds for you to win? Anybody want to guess? So which game do you think you could play at a casino where you have the best chance that you might actually win versus the house? Would you say poker? Or roulette? What are your thoughts? None of you guys are gamblers. Right. Me neither, actually, but I do know this is a fact. So your best chances actually is blackjack. So you have the best odds at winning a hand in blackjack than you do in any other gambling game. How about in a casino, what is the least chance of you winning something? Anybody want to take a stab at that? Where the house makes the most money. And I'll give you a hint. When you walk into a casino, what do you see the most of?
Gotta be slots, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right, Alex. It's slot machines. The house has the advantage with slot machines. Slot machines do pay out, but you never know when they're going to pay out. So somebody could be playing on a machine for a long time and not win anything, and somebody could walk up and throw a couple of quarters in and actually win it. That actually happened to me in one of the few times that I actually went to Atlantic City. When they first opened the casinos in Atlantic City, I went to the Tropicana, and I walked up to a slot machine and I put in 3 quarters. That we used to actually put the quarters in the machine. I put in 3 quarters and I won $300. And I'm still $300 ahead even today, and that was 30 years ago. So I'm not a gambler. I should have put in 5 quarters. I would have won $5,000, but who would have known? But you know, somebody could have been playing that machine all day and not won anything or broke even. And I just happened to walk up and got lucky. But most of the time, the house is the ones who win. So when entrepreneurs are thinking, they're making decisions that are in uncertain environments, there is high stakes, but they're also going to work to try to reduce that risk. So they're trying to find ways to reduce risk. The book talks about bricolage, which is, you know, just like I was talking about people in Alaska. You know, they have only so much resources. Y'all don't have a lot of resources. So how do we build based on those resources? We look and we experiment with what we've got. We look at the resources that we have and we begin to experiment, to tinker, it says, repackage, reframing, you know, using something different. And a lot of times we'll use the term making do. So we're kind of making do with what we have. When the book talks a little bit more about effectuation, you guys can read more of this. I don't need to read all of these for you, but again, it involves thinking of a desired outcome, thinking ahead. You know, one of the things that entrepreneurs need to do is we need to be ahead of the curve than most people in business, because we've got to be anticipating what's next. Things that can really throw that off is when things that happen that we're not anticipating. Things like COVID. Nobody would have ever guessed, you know, would have affected our lives in such a way. I can remember, we're almost coming up on the anniversary when September 11th hit. That was a terrible day, and nobody could have anticipated that. Now, there were people, and are people even today, and businesses that are looking at COVID as opportunity. It's not a good thing, but how can we make this work for us? And there's a lot of the businesses that are surviving, particularly in the restaurant industry, the businesses that are surviving right now have figured out ways in which they can keep their customers coming in different avenues. And certainly using things like food deliveries and takeouts, you know, pickup and that kind of strategy has worked well. And the companies that can't do that, who are not flexible, are the ones that won't survive when these kind of things that happen. So it says the effectuation process looks at what a person has and then selects from several possible outcomes. It allows entrepreneurs to think in a highly uncertain environment. So entrepreneurs are not people who panic. They look and they say, okay, how can we figure out, again, it says develop this mindset, attempt to make sense of the opportunities. Look at it and say, can we do this? So they're not the people who say, oh, you can't do that. Like some of you guys were saying, we lose our creativity because people say, oh, you got to work a job. You got to go get a job, right? And these are the people that discourage entrepreneurs, from reaching their goals if we listen to them. So entrepreneurs need to think outside of, I hate to say outside the box, it's so cliche, but it is really what we're talking about. People who can seize and look at opportunities. When my kids were little, and some of you guys, if you have kids or you're going to have kids, Christmas is always a lot of fun, Christmas morning, watching your kids open up the presents. But I got to say, it's usually kind of disappointing when the kids are really little because they open up the box and they end up playing with what. What do they end up playing with instead of the toy?
Tissue paper, the wrapping paper.
Tissue paper, wrapping paper, and the box. And I had an entrepreneur speaker one time talk about that. And you know what he said? He said, you know what an entrepreneur, a manager or a regular business person would look at that and say, darn, I spent all that money on that little toy and the kid would rather play with a box. An entrepreneur will look at that and say, I wonder why the kid's playing with the box. Like, what is missing from this child's play experience that the box is meeting that need? And then how could I make something that would take place of the box? So it's a little bit of a different way to think. So constantly questioning the dominant logic. We always question, well, why do we do it that way? I always tell my students, if you're working for a company and you want to try something different and the manager or the boss comes to you and they say something like, just do it this way because that's the way we always have done it. You probably want to try to look for a new job because that company's not going to last terribly much longer, because they're just not thinking outside the typical logic. Well, this is always the way we do things here. And the entrepreneur is the one who always says, well, why? Why do we always do it that way? Why can't we think about doing it a different way? And so that mindset, we're always questioning that. And we always revisit what we think are true about markets and firms. We're always looking for information on what is the next trend? What is the things that people want or need? We do have cognitive ability, and that's very important to, again, being flexible. We can self-regulate. We can handle the changes in our environment. We look at things sometimes in a little bit of a different way. We look at the different kinds of tasks that can be done, and can this be done a different way? And we're always looking for those opportunities to change the way we do things. The intention to act entrepreneurial talks about that it's intentional. We purposely think that way. We don't just, we don't force ourselves to think that way. It comes natural for us. We're always inquisitive and trying to think, just like Cain was. Cain wanted to get, one of those hook device, games. And he asked his dad, well, can we go get one? He's like, well, why don't you just build one? And the little kid figured out how to take a piece of yarn and an S-hook and make one. So he's always thinking about, well, I really want this, and I know I can't buy one, so maybe there's a way in which I can build one. And that's the beauty of that creativity. And again, we kind of lose that. I think we lose that as we get older simply because we listen to people who don't have it or tell you why you can't do certain things. From an entrepreneur background and characteristics, again, and I hate to generalize this, but it usually have a broad knowledge. So you're somebody who has a broad knowledge about a lot of different things. I'm actually pretty good at trivia games for the most part. So I have a lot of knowledge about nothing. But I'm always a good teammate if you ever want to play a trivia game and you want me on your team. Because I have all kinds of trivia that I've learned through the years that just, I just think are interesting. we are able to transfer our knowledge and skills to help solve problems. So we're problem solvers. Everybody has problems every day that we deal with. When I run into a problem, I can get a little frustrated, honestly, at the very beginning. And then I always tell myself, and I use this all the time, I'm like, David, work the problem. Let's work the problem. I want to solve the problems. I'm a problem solver. So I'm always trying to swoop in and solve. That's when I solve a problem, I can move to the next thing. So I don't know how you guys are as far as how you organize yourselves. I'm a list maker. Like I make lists. So I write lists of things that I am doing, things to do, right? And I cross them off. And that makes me feel like I've accomplished something for the day because I'm solving problems. The age, funny thing, most entrepreneurs, 22 to 45, usually is a good place for people to be entrepreneurs, although we have learned that even older people now are becoming more entrepreneurial, even in retirement. Your work history does play a role in what you do because you get experience in different things that you're working. So be diverse in your work experiences because that will help you be a better entrepreneur. A lot of times we have role models that will set examples for us as far as being entrepreneurs. So we learn from people that are that way. And we also, and this is I think a really important thing, we do need moral support. I will tell you guys, for those of you that are entrepreneur majors or who are thinking about doing something entrepreneurial at some point, you're not going to always get the moral support that you really desire from people that you think are going to be there for you. Okay, so some people are just not risk takers at all, and they will not be supportive of you trying to launch your own business. Don't you know what the economy's like? Did you know how many businesses fail? We hear that over and over and over again. So you need to surround yourself with people who are going to support you and are going to help you, network out and get a professional support network, like the slide says, people who are going to help you reach the goals that you're trying to reach. I will tell you guys, for those of you guys that are ENT majors, you're looking at the one person who will always be part of your moral support network. So I will always be involved as much as you want me to be. And so as you go on to further studies and you graduate and maybe you want to start a business at some point, you can always reach back to me. And as long as I have breath, I'll try to help you. So those are the kinds of folks that you want to surround yourself with as you go out. Networking, very important. So getting to know people. So there are opportunities in our major for you to start doing some of those networking activities and connecting with other resources. Get out there. Get out there and meet new people. So those are the slides from chapter 1. You just put you guys over here. So those are the slides from chapter 1. So what kind of questions from the mindset do you think you have in regards to chapter 1? Does it make sense to you guys a little bit? Do you guys find yourselves that entrepreneurial spirit has been squashed a little bit for you, or do you feel like it's still intact? What do you think? Brianna, what do you think?
I'm ready. I have in my entrepreneurial, whatever you want to call it. What are you calling it?
Mindset,
yes, was shut down for a long time. And I went through a lot of things in my life, but I am getting back on track, and next week I'm ordering a Cricut machine and a presser, and I want to start my own business. Right now I'm collecting unemployment. My restaurant is shut down.
Right.
But I plan to hopefully not have to go back if everything goes right. But I started this class because I feel like I need more information and more education on it, basically.
I agree.
It will help me through my process because this is something that I truly want to do. And I do have people telling me that you're not gonna be able to do it, but I'm not listening to any of that. because I have goals. I have 3 kids. That's why my camera was off earlier. So I have 2 kids on Zoom right now, and then I have a 2-year-old right next to me.
That's
so
awesome.
so my camera was off, and so I
That's
wanted.
quite
But
okay. That's fine.
we're gonna do all this. We're gonna work it all out, and
Yes, we are. Work the problem, right? Work the
Mhm.
problem. So you know what, Brianna, that's something that a lot of my students in ENT 101 will say is, hey, I'm ready, and I love that enthusiasm. Just know that what you don't know will hurt you. And so
yeah.
so I always encourage students that kind of feel like they're really, I really want to get going, I'm ready to launch this thing. I encourage you to be patient. One of the things that we don't have as entrepreneurs is very good patience at times. I want you to be patient and go through the process a little bit. It's going to take some time, but there are things that you're going to learn through this education that you're getting that is going to really help you. And remember what I said earlier, we are definitely taking a risk, but we're trying to reduce the amount of risk that we can take. And so the more we know, the less risk we take, right? So be patient as you go through this process, and don't try to launch too early where something that you don't know about ends up burning you, like something legal or something financial, all those kinds of things. So, but yeah, I mean, you're right. Don't listen to people, who are going to be real negative, say what you can't do. And honestly, who do they think they are by telling us what we can't do? I mean, everybody is working. Anybody who has a job is working for a company that was started by somebody who took the steps to make that business go. And so
Yeah, but like you said, it's a lot to it. Like my first step was saving money.
Sure.
And even still, now that I have the money and have a little bit of backup to order my Cricut, I know that I'm not going to just start putting stuff out there because I have to learn the Cricut. I have to learn the presser.
Exactly.
And I was selling paparazzi jewelry before, and but that just wasn't my thing or whatever. But I learned a little bit going into that. I didn't save money. I didn't, you know what I mean? And it backfired.
Yep.
So, and that's exactly why I took this class, because I want the correct knowledge, and so I can really, and I think people are just scared. It's fear.
It is fear, and fear is at an all-time high right now because of the civil unrest that we're experiencing in Corona. And, I got to say, one of the things that probably is the biggest detriment to my entrepreneurial spirit and my positivity is 24-hour news. So I'm not encouraging any of you guys to be ignorant to what's happening around us. And we need to be not only knowledgeable about what's happening, but we need to find solutions to, I think, some significant problems that we're facing. At the same time, be careful about the 24-hour news, because it tends to be extremely negative, because that's what sells products for them. And so no matter what news agency you watch, I think too much of a diet of that can be a real detriment. It is personally for me, it's detrimental. So be careful of that, because entrepreneurs tend to be very optimistic. We look at the future as a very positive and exciting time. We don't look at just the good old days. The good old days were good, but the future is even more exciting. I could never have imagined as a young person, or even somebody in college, doing what I'm doing right now. Think about it, right? We're sitting here, we're actually seeing each other and on a screen. This was the Jetsons when I was a kid, right? And we're living that. It's pretty exciting times. So technology and the advancements in technology have really churned the entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that's why that age group was listed on one of the slides. So good, that's good. So let me do this. I'm going to share the screen again. So I get to move you over to another screen for me to do that. All right, I'm going to go back to screen 1. All right, we're going to go out of that. I want to pull up a little bit of chapter 2. We're just going to talk just a little bit of chapter 2 with a few minutes that we have left. Hang in there, y'all doing okay? We're all still awake, so good. So let me go into chapter 2 a little bit so we can kind of catch up just a little, because we got behind just a tad. So one of the things that I talked to you guys in week 1 was that just because many of you guys are entrepreneur majors, the expectation isn't necessarily that you're going to start your own business, although I hope you do, and I think more of you will than you believe at this point. It doesn't mean that you have to. Businesses are always looking for people who have an entrepreneurial mindset from chapter 1 to be able to inject that into a company. And I'm a living example of that. So again, I told you in the 1970s, my older brother started the company that I was working for, Cardiokinetics. Morgan, where are you? Morgan knows about that. So there's Morgan. So she reached out to me afterwards and said, was there a company called Cardiokinetics? Because that really sounds familiar. Yes, that was my family company. My brother started the business, but then when I got involved in the early 1980s, I started a whole segment of that side of the business that really had not, grown or been a big part of the company. So I took the entrepreneurial mindset into an existing company and built a side of that business in an entrepreneurial mindset. So it says there's an interest in entrepreneurship within existing organizations. So we're looking at, how can we, and as a company, even if it's a company that you start someday, how do you keep entrepreneurship alive and well within the business that you're operating? Because you want your employees to always be thinking entrepreneurial as well, so that the company can continue to grow. So the book talks a little bit about that in this particular chapter. There are different strategies that we can put in to our businesses that will help us become more and more entrepreneurial. And those companies that are entrepreneurial minded are looking to hire you guys. So whether you actually do your own business or not, you're going to end up working for businesses that tend to be more entrepreneurial driven, because they're going to see the value of the kind of education in which you guys are getting here at the college. So it talks about both entrepreneurship and strategy have important implications for the performance of a firm. So any way a company is going to perform is dependent really on entrepreneurial mindset. So entrepreneurial management is driven by opportunity, not resources. So when there's an opportunity, the mindset is, how can we make this work? Not, oh, we can't do that because we don't have enough money. Or no, we can't do that because we don't have enough people. Or whatever other resource it could be. So the resources do not constrain entrepreneurial managed firms. We'll find a way to do it. And that's exactly how my family business operated in the early years. Was we don't know exactly how we're going to do it, but we're going to figure out a way to do it because there's opportunity that's there. In contrast, traditional firms emphasize collecting and analyzing information, and they miss windows of opportunity. And they're too slow. And the bigger and the more formal a business is, and the more structured it is, the less flexibility there is. Right? And you guys know that because you all have worked in companies, and you probably are maybe even working in some businesses that are really struggling right now. And the ones that will come out of this COVID crisis are the ones who are much more entrepreneurial minded. So it's all about resources. What are the resources that a business has? It could be financial, it could be, the supply of what we have, it can be machinery, it can be people. So how we use those resources really will help determine whether a company is entrepreneurial managed or not. Also, how does the company, look at the companies maybe that you guys are working for now to evaluate whether they're very entrepreneurial minded or not. How is the business structured? Like, who do you know who to answer to? Who's your boss? Who's the ones that you answer? What if you want to make a suggestion, how would that be handled? To if you want to suggest something, change something, how open is the management of the company that you're working for right now? How open are they to change and to allowing you to make suggestions? And then even beyond that, do they even reward people for making suggestions of changes? What do they do to encourage all of the collective human resources in a business to take the time to think about how to change or improve things? And again, traditional companies don't have that mindset. They're the ones that say, listen, your job is to do what I tell you because I'm the boss, and we're going to do it my way because I'm the boss, and that's the way we always have done things here. And that's always a danger sign when you see people in businesses that make those kinds of statements. So, think about that, even in the company that you're in. And those companies that are going to survive COVID typically are going to be the ones that have that entrepreneurial mindset. They also have what we call a growth orientation. And a growth orientation is the idea that we're always looking for ways in which we can grow. And if we can grow quickly and handle that and manage that, wonderful. The more we can grow and the quicker we can grow, the better. Traditionally managed firms are very slow and steady. They're the turtles. They're going to go slow and steady. And they can do just fine for a long time until they have a crisis like COVID. So I was looking at the list the other day. Lord & Taylor, gone. Neiman Marcus is gone. Sears is gone. Kmart, we knew they were on life support for 10 years. So, but they're gone. They're gone. What other companies are leaving? We heard any other companies that are going out of business because of COVID?
New York and Company.
Oh, is that right? I hadn't heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So, these are very old traditional companies, and they get very set in their ways, and they tend to not be able to be flexible when things happen and this is an advantage to small business. Small business typically can be more flexible than larger businesses. So the companies that are not entrepreneurial minded are the ones that are not going to be able to handle a change like COVID. So what are the characteristics, and we'll finish with this one. What are the characteristics of an entrepreneurial environment? An environment that you can either work in, or even better yet, an environment that you guys are going to have the opportunity to create. Because remember, when you start a business, the whole culture and how the business operates is completely up to you. So you're the one that's making those decisions. It's huge responsibility. So organization operates on frontiers of technology. They're always willing to learn new technology. New ideas, they're encouraged. Trial and error is encouraged. Notice this too. These go hand in hand. You can see my cursor. I'm circling error and failure. We are going to make mistakes, but we're trying new things. I'm trying to incorporate some new technology this semester for your classes. I'm telling you guys right now, some of it is going to fail miserably. It is what it is. I'm going to give it a try, and I'm trying some new things out. So failures, are they allowed? Can we try things? And if they don't work, they don't work. There's no opportunity parameters. In other words, we're not going to put roadblocks up for you to say, well, you can't do this because of that. We're going to try to make as many resources as we can to give you the opportunity to be successful in whatever you're trying. We have a multidisciplinary teamwork approach. Guys, the collective knowledge that we all have together far exceeds the knowledge that I have. So as we get further and further into the semester, I want you guys to continue to share ideas and thoughts. And eventually, if you stay in the program, the process of how this program works is I begin to turn over the reins of control somewhat over to you guys. So by the second year of the fall semester, so 1 year from now for a lot of you guys, you'll be building a business model, and all I'm doing is facilitating what you should be thinking about, but you guys are making the decisions on that. So I'm actually turning over control to you guys. And I feel that as a group, we work together on each other's ideas and projects, and there's a lot better outcome because we're working on it together. We have what's called a long time horizon. That means we look out into the future. We're not just looking at the here and now. It's just not just about today. And it's not just about tomorrow. It's a year from now. It's 10 years from now. We've got to have that forward thinking. We should always have, and this is an interesting thing, in an entrepreneur environment, there's usually always some kind of a volunteer program. There's always some kind of a cause or something that you want to support. And so I actually require that for my students when they're writing their business plans at the very end of their study here. There's one section of the business plan that says you need to pick a charity or an organization in which your company is going to partner with and that you're going to provide either manpower or financial support or both. And most students really like that. In fact, the person who came in second in our business plan competition this last spring, her whole business was a nonprofit for domestic abuse survivors. And she took her volunteer program and she made it into a nonprofit. And it is actually operating today. We have a good reward system. In other words, we pay you, we give you benefits, we give you rewards for thinking entrepreneurial. So not only do we not hold you accountable if there's a failure, but we actually reward you as well. We have sponsors and champions. That means people in the company who are rooting for you. You know, I was a lacrosse player for many years. I played college lacrosse. I played semi-pro lacrosse for a while. And then I started coaching high school lacrosse. I could no longer play the game for my kids, but I was out there coaching them and encouraging them and pushing them. And I do that even, you know, now in the classroom. I'm here to encourage. So you need champions and people who sponsor and support. And that support from top management, very, very important in regards to being an, so if you're going to run your own business at some point, you want an entrepreneurial environment, it really starts with you. It's really all about you guys. Slide your Zoom over to here. So I'm going to stop right there in chapter 2. I want you to read chapters 1, 2, and start on chapter 3 as well. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are all on the first exam. Okay? The first exam, we're going to talk about the first exam next week. So make sure that everybody chimes in next week because I'm going to show you the exam. Well, I'm not going to actually physically show you, but I'm going to show you how the exam works so you know exactly what to expect. When we do the exam, you'll have a full week to work that exam. I do have a couple of students in the class that have some accommodations, so you may get the exam a little bit ahead of time. But the rest of you, you'll have a full week to work on the exam, okay? So that'll be coming up. I think I would be posting that after we meet next week. So we're already getting to that point. So what assignment do we have due coming up?
Homework.
The ethics assignment.
There we go. Homework 1. All right. So start working on that now, and then we'll have the exam following up after that. Does anybody have any questions or anything before I let you go? I like to keep it right around an hour because I know I lose your attention after an hour. So anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns at this point?
No.
Cam?
No.
Alex? Good? We're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good.
Okay, great. You guys know if you can just email me. I respond very quickly to emails. So if you have any issues or anything, just reach out to me and be glad to meet with you. Okay? So get on your reading. Make sure you're checking each week module and work on homework 1 and we'll be good. All right? Otherwise, I will see you guys next Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah, have a
Take care.
good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.